Hi, this is Kathy Weymouth from Tune the Temple, and I really have something on my heart today, and it's about having a high expectations for yourself. Many of us struggle with this, and it actually can indicate some lack of boundaries with yourself. So let me talk about that. If you are someone who leans towards perfectionism, if you find yourself getting nervous or anxious with failure or not being able to do something to the highest level, to the nth degree, and it makes you uncomfortable, then maybe this is something you could take a look at. Why do you have such high expectations of yourself? I think part of it is it gives us a sense of security. When we do something really well and it comes off and it's polished, then we feel good about ourselves. When it's slightly off, well, not so good. And if you had a tendency to be like a straight A student like I did, then you understand the struggle with perfectionism. Did you know, I just looked it up because we're in the middle of the World Series in 2022 right now, and the Phillies are amazingly coming from not having the best season, and they had the third game of the World Series, they had 5 home runs. So I looked at a little bit about that, like, what about these home run hitters? Do they hit a home run every time they come up to bat? Do you know that these hitters, these baseball, some of them are paid $10 to $30 million. And no, they do not hit a home run every single time they come up to bat. And even the best pitchers, they do not pitch a no-run game every single time that they pitch. So they're paid $10 to $30 million and they're not perfect. Okay, so why would you expect perfectionism out of yourself? Again, I think it's because we just feel a good sense of identity when we do things really well and not so good when we don't. So I'm going to make this a 2-part video. Check back next week for some suggestions. But meanwhile, I'm just going to ask you to sort of reflect. Number one, do you have a hard time, just reflect this week, do you have a hard time being human? Like, and realizing that you have limits, that you make mistakes, that you can simply think of mistakes as learning experiences rather than as failure. Okay, do you have a hard time allowing yourself to be human? That's number one. Number two, what emotions come up when you don't do a perfect job? What emotions do you feel? So I just jotted down a few. Do you feel shame? Do you feel guilty? Do you have self-hatred and self-loathing? And do you beat yourself up? All that negative self stuff. Are you disappointed in yourself? So reflect on that this week. What are the emotions that you experience when you don't do a perfect job or things don't go as well as you had hoped for? And then the third thing, number 3, reflect a little bit or imagine what it would be like if you weren't so hard on yourself. How would that change your life and your emotions? Would you be able to just extend yourself some more grace? And how would that feel? How would it feel? Just sort of tap into the positive of that. So that's number 3. And then number 4, a big question is, would you like to change this? Would you like to be more forgiving and more allowing of yourself to be a human? And then number 5, how is this related to boundary setting? Think about that this week. How is this related to not having good boundaries with yourself? And I want to bring some tips next week. Okay. So I hope this helps a little bit. I just want you to really reflect this week. And especially if you're super hard on yourself. I really had a breakthrough. I still do things well. Don't get me wrong. I will always expect high standards of my work and whatever. But I had a breakthrough in the guilt of not being this perfect human being. And it's amazing to have that breakthrough because I just am more accepting of who I am and I feel more peaceful. So anyway, I want to bring you some suggestions next week. This is Kathy Weymouth from Tune the Temple.